everybody sign in?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Can we see?
All right, thank you for all attending tonight, the Detroit Lakes Planning Commission meeting. We'll get started here. This is a hybrid meeting that we have members physically in the DLCC ballroom here, as well as Planning Commission members, staff members online, and certainly individuals who are interested in a particular item are also online, as well as we have folks here in attendance. For those of you that are in attendance, when your item comes up and you want to speak, I'd ask that you can go to the podium and please identify yourself and your address. And certainly, I don't expect you to keep the mask on if you're speaking. If you want to take it off, you're welcome to do so. Those of you online that have an item, please raise your hand when it comes to your item. If you want to speak, or of course, Planning Commission members, Dan and Don, certainly, speak up when you're ready to do so. I believe we have to take attendance physically for the minutes. So I will call the roll here for Planning Commission members, and online is Dan Wenner.
Here.
Don Marisul.
Here.
Is Bob Louisawan? No? Anyone else from the Planning Commission online? Okay. Eric Mark. Chris Nord.
Here.
Nancy Hager.
Here.
And Bruce Simholt is here. All right. A couple of items before we get into the agenda. Just a reminder to anyone again that has an item on the agenda tonight. This committee, Planning Commission, makes a recommendation of the Community Development Committee of the Council, which meets October 12th at 5 o'clock. We're in this very room. Is that correct, Mr. Wenner?
My big thumb couldn't catch the unmute button. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And also then October 13th at 5 o'clock, the council meeting. Any recommendations that come out of the CDC will meet in this room also. Larry, I believe October 22nd is our next Planning Commission meeting, just to be sure we got it on the calendar.
That is the correct date, October 22nd.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And again, anyone that's online, I just emphasize again, if you want to speak, make sure you raise your hand, and Carrie Tyson from the city will make sure we pull you into the conference here. All right, first order of business is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held August 27th, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I move to approve.
Motion by Nancy.
Second.
Second by Eric. Any further comments? If not, we need to take a roll call. All in favor, Dan Wenner?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Bruce? Aye. Thank you. All right, we've got a series of public hearings. I'm going to, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take the public hearings that have people physically in attendance here. I apologize if someone's online for that, but we want to make sure we can get people in and out of here safely. So the first item is a public hearing, item C, to give consideration to rezoning from R2 1 and 2 family residential district to B2 general business at 717 Elm Street West. Larry, if you would give us a background on that, please.
Yes, this is a request from Lori Grotness to rezone the property at 717 Elm Street West from R2 1 and 2 family residential district to B2 business district. This is on the west side of Highway 59. If you look at the map that's in front of you now, and what will basically happen if we agree that this rezoning should take place is that the district that is on the east side of Highway 59 would be extended to take this in.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Again, this is a public hearing, so we would open it up to public comment. So if anyone wishes to address the issue of the rezoning at 717 Elm Street, I'd ask them to come to the podium and say their piece. All right, oh, here we go.
Hello, my name is John Stone. I own a property directly across the street. It would be 716 West Elm Street. And then we live actually directly behind that in Oak Hills at 501 Birch Drive. We purchased this property about 2 years ago, roughly, when the previous homeowner passed away, and the family was trying to get rid of the property, I guess. Our goal when we bought the property was to prevent any type of development back there, because right now the property piece that we have is almost an acre and it's solid woods. Eventually, we would like to change that, not change it, but build a home there. If you approve this request to change it to business, that will increase the traffic back there. Right now, the only traffic that goes back there is there's one residential home that's just beyond that, and then the city dump is beyond that. And so the only traffic that we see currently that goes by that piece of property would be the city trucks when they dump stuff out back, snow plows, when they dump snow during the winter, concrete, different things like that. And then the one gentleman that lives back there. This house was redone with everything we were told to be a residential home. The individual who, again, as we were told, was buying it, it was to be a residential home. We now found out that there is a business that is in it. And, you know, we have a question, and I don't know if you guys will answer questions at a meeting like this or not. It's just because I don't know exactly how the zoning works. But if you were to extend that zoning and include that, when that business leaves that home or they sell it, does it ever revert back to residential, or does it have to go through a process like this again?
No, you're certainly welcome to ask questions,
Okay.
and that's a valid question. Larry, would you answer the question about the rezoning?
Yes, if a business was started at this location and we rezoned it tonight, or when the council rezones it, if it would change, it would have to go through this process again to revert back to residential zoning.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, John, just, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Stone.
Stone, Mr.
Yep.
Stone, yeah. So you understand, so once it's rezoned, if it's rezoned, it stays in that zone unless it's requested to be rezoned again.
And I appreciate that, because that was a big, you know, point of question that we had, because we weren't sure, obviously. Okay, that kind of, I thought, not knowing that across the street, when we received our paperwork, I didn't see that it would extend, be an extension from across the street, so this wouldn't be considered a spot zoning. I would just end, I guess, in that, since how you answered that question for me. We consulted with a real estate agent about what it would do to our residential property being across from that, and we were informed that it would affect our value and not in a positive way. So my wife and I, we are definitely not in favor of changing this to a business zone for, one, of course, the value of our property, but two, just the increased traffic that it could bring now, which wouldn't be a ton, but down the road, if that home is sold and it's still in the business district, and say an auto shop was to go in there and somebody was working on cars out of their driveway or out of the garage that's there, well then of course that increases the number of vehicles that are sitting there and the number of people that come and go. The attractiveness for us to actually build a home on that property really decreases tremendously. Then we would probably, you know, can we make our property business and tear all the trees down and put up storage units? Everybody loves storage units in residential areas, right? Probably not, but we wouldn't do that. But it would be less attractive for us to build a home there if it was right across from a business. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Mr. Stone, I have a question for you. So the property that you own is that vacant square just to the north of this rezoning?
It is actually, if you look right across to the north of it, it goes all the way down. You can see a house on the west end, and ours are all of the trees. So right on the edge of the tree line, right there, all the way down to the east end where, yep, all of that. And there is a house and a garage there. Yes, there is a house and a garage there.
And how big is that piece of property?
I believe
0.83 acres.
that is correct. I have my,
43 acres.
0.83.
Oh, 20, I was gonna say 43,
that's a pretty big 43 acres for a small spot, yeah.
No, so
Yeah,
about a-
0.08 or 0.83.
about an acre then.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, well, before you, Mr. Stone leaves, does any other planning commission members have any questions for him as long as he's at the podium? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else in the audience wish to address the issue of the rezoning at 717 Elm Street? Anyone else in the audience wish to? Are you here for that issue? Yeah, if you want to speak, you should do so now. Yep.
So my plans, John,
All
are
right, could you identify yourself and your address, please?
my home address or this address for the house?
Are you, first of all, are you Lori?
Yes.
That's what I need you to do is identify yourself.
Okay, Lori Grotness,
Yep,
about the issue on 717 Elm.
and you can probably address the planning commission members over here, Lori. Lori, this way, yeah, right here. We're all planning commission members, you can talk to us.
Okay, what I'd like to do is have a day spa situation. Nails, hair, full day massage, everything like that. John's worried about the neighbors. I think he would probably build down farther, not across from right there. You'd build right where that other house is when you have all that land. Okay. I don't think it would be a problem. There's a lot of city trucks are pretty much steady through there year round. It wouldn't increase the traffic other than a client here, a client there. It wouldn't be, you know, multiple vehicles. There would probably be more commotion there if it was a rental house and they had 7 kids that were teenagers. So I'm not trying to be a bad neighbor. I would just like to have a little retreat and do that.
Hey, does anyone have any questions for?
Yeah, is there going to be employees involved with that, or is it just you?
There would be 2.
2 employees, including yourself?
No, just 2 total.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, I got a question.
Just, why don't you stay there for a minute? Is it Miss Brockness?
Mrs. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
You presently own the property.
yes.
I have a question. Well, maybe.
Go ahead. Yep.
My other question, I'm not sure if it's now or after, Larry. Is there a way to run a salon in a building without getting it rezoned? Can you not run a business in your home? Why do you have to have it rezoned?
You can run a home occupation, but you have to live there, and it can only be manned by people who live on the premises. This is not what she's proposing to do. She's going to lease this out to other people who will run the business. So it would not be allowed to be a home occupation.
Okay, I just need to clarify that.
If I can just ask you, what attracted you to this location that you wanted it to be a treat when it's along the highway and the railroad? I just kind of wondering about that.
I have looked at that house for 40 years. I drive school bus and I have seen it, and it was the horriblest looking little house ever. And just started fixing on it and had a gal that was gonna move in and live there and do her own business and buy it. And that's not panning out. She's not purchasing. So until she does, she's working on financing. She had some bankruptcy issues and things that I wasn't aware of. And so until that happens, for her to legally work, it needs to be rezoned. So I just texted her tonight to see when she planned on moving in, and she said when her daughter graduated from college in 2021. So it would be like a year to keep her moving in the right direction for the year.
Any other questions? Any planning commission members have?
You own the property directly to the west too. Is that correct?
Yes, that's not part of this.
Well, that's a good question. Though. What is on that property
There's an old building site.
that you're not looking to rezone that?
No, no.
All right, I think if we have no other questions, thank you for coming. All right, before I close the public meeting, anyone else in the audience wish to address the issue of rezoning at 717 Elm Street West? All right, I will close the public hearing and open it up to discussion by planning commission members. Anyone have a comment or a question yet that they want to bring up on this issue?
Yeah. Bruce, Dan Winter here. It's just, I think this is a situation that, I mean, to rezone, the thing that bothers me is once this is rezoned, it's forever general business. And this building could be torn down by some future owner, as John pointed out, and put any business in here that would fit that zoning. I think rezoning an area because somebody happens to own property there and thinking that that's still not going to change. I think this is incongruous with the character of that neighborhood on that side of the highway, and I'm just opposed to extending rezoning that area.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Anyone else want to speak up? Anyone? If not, then Dan, I'm with you 100%. I guess the issue is more, as you said, once you rezone it to B2, this project could be a very nice project with the spa, but once you rezone it, you can make it into anything. And I do think it's, I mean, in my opinion, it is spot zoning because of even though we're extending it from the east side, it's really separated by the highway. So I see it more as a spot zoning. I would have preferred if we were going to rezone this to look at the land to the west as well as even Mr. Stone's property to the north. And then I would have probably said that all connected over to the other area over there. So I'm with you, Dan.
Okay.
All right. If there's no further comment or questions, I guess I'd be looking for a motion either to approve, a motion to deny, or if you want to seek more answers, we can see about deferral either way.
I'd make a motion to deny. I agree with the spot zoning.
Motion by Nancy to deny. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that, Bruce. Dan Winter here.
Second by Dan Winter. Okay, thank you. All right, discussion on the motion. If not, I will take a roll call vote. Dan Winter?
Aye.
As you,
I am in favor of denying the zoning.
yeah, as you may have guessed, Dan, I'm going to come to you first every time, so you'll be ready for that.
And that's fine. I just have to make sure I remember exactly what I'm voting for.
The motion is to deny the rezoning by Nancy, seconded by Dan Winter. The first person to vote here was Dan in favor of aye. Don?
Yeah.
Nay.
Nay, okay. Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Bruce? Aye. So it fails by a vote of 5-1. Yep. All right. You certainly have a chance to visit this, as I said, at the October 12th Community Development Meeting, 5 o'clock, right in this room. Thank you guys for coming. All right, the next public hearing is to give a consideration to a variance to allow an 8-foot fence surrounding the property on 3 sides at 704 Shorewood Drive. Larry, please.
Yes, this is a request by Jesse and Karen McCullum at 704 Shorewood Drive. They are requesting an 8-foot high fence because they're having problems with deer eating their plants.
Anything else, Larry?
Staff has reviewed this request and they are recommending that this be denied as the applicant has not shown that they have a unique situation where they would be entitled to have a variance of this type. The problem with deer is, I would say, a fairly common one in Detroit Lakes. And I think that allowing 8-foot high fences is really flying in the face of what our ordinance is trying to allow. And so staff has recommended denial of this request.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And if we have some questions for Larry, we can certainly come back to that. But again, is there
Staff report does list a number of findings that you could consider in denying this request.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Yes, if you folks would identify yourself and your address, please.
Hi, Jesse and Karen McCullum, 704 Shorewood Drive.
Okay.
I guess we're not, our last resort is a fence. We're not really fence people either. That's why we've opted to go with something that was more open and transparent and something that we didn't really want to be too visible. So we've opted for a black chain link on the sides, and then on the end, an iron fence. And the reason that we are requesting the 8-foot is because we feel that if we go through and spend all the money to install this fence, and at 8 feet or at 6 feet, it doesn't keep the deer out, we've now, spent the money and we haven't really resolved the problem. Would we be happier, appeal-wise with the 6-foot? Yes, but the reason the 8-foot is because, deer will jump an 8-foot fence, but, or a 6-foot fence. So I guess that's our reasoning for it. I do understand that it is a problem in all of the Detroit Lakes city area, but it's very much, I feel like, a more significant problem just because we are living right next to Cox's Point, which is a very wooded area. Now, I know some people, like as for instance, John Cox, he doesn't care about doing a lot of extra gardening and all of that, so he chooses to buy metal flowers, and that's great for him. But for us, we're kind of tree people, gardening people, all that, and the deer have literally chewed up just about everything that we have attempted to plant. And I know some people could say, well, plant deer-resistant plants. There is not such a thing as deer-resistant, because once they've eaten up all the things that they really like, then they go to the things that are not as favorable or that they do like. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I would just add, we've spent endless amounts of money with deterrents, sprays, those type of things. They tend to work early in the season, but by the last 2 years, we thought we kind of had something, and by July they come in and within 2 or 3 days wipe us out completely. And we spend thousands of dollars on plants every year, and basically they destroy it all. It's not uncommon to have north of 8 to 10 deer in our yard at one time, and it's daily. And we have looked around the lake. There is the exact fence that has been either approved but they do exist around the lake in the exact form that we're asking for.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions for Mr. and Mrs. McCullum? Anyone have any questions? Larry, can you just go through the findings of fact you had on here, just to reiterate the staff recommendations here?
Yes, I would be happy to do that. The findings that you should consider are: first, the variance is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance for several reasons. The variance would allow an 8-foot high fence in an area where the maximum height of fences is 3 feet or 6 feet. The variance would allow fences in the shore impact zone, which is the first 37.5 feet from the lake, where no structures are permitted. An 8-foot high fence at the water's edge could obstruct the view to the lake and on the lake. 2, the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as it is a residential use in a residential district. 3, the proposal does not put the property to use in a reasonable manner, as it will create an undesirable 8-foot tall fence in a residential district and also obstruct the neighbor's views to the lake. 4, the circumstances are not unique to the property, as all residents so situated would experience problems with wildlife in their yards. And 5, the variance would not maintain the essential character of the neighborhood, as it would allow an 8-foot high fence across the front yard adjacent to the road right-of-way. It would also allow an 8-foot high fence in the shore impact zone and could be an obstruction to the neighbor's view of the lake. Also, I don't think that fencing in 3 sides of the yard would keep the deer out, because deer are not afraid to go into the water, so they would just walk around the fence and get into the yard anyway.
Larry, would you, though, probably the other piece I'd like you to look at is, if we granting a variance, what is the requirement in order for the city to grant a variance in terms of
the requirement is that the applicant is required to show that they have an undue hardship because of the ordinance that's preventing them from enjoying their property the way that other people would enjoy their property. They're also required to make sure that it's in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. It needs to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. They need to put the property to use in a reasonable manner. So basically, the findings that we've touched on are what the state law requires for people to show in order to be granted a variance. And I don't feel that the applicant has demonstrated that.
Okay, thank you. Again, before I close the public hearing, anything else you guys want to add?
I guess, like I said, our neighbor has an 8-foot fence that goes all the way to the water and across the front of his property. And I guess I would feel if we were denied, it's a double standard. And our neighbor put the fence up because of a deer problem.
And then I also want to add, so he touched a lot on that our neighbors, it would obstruct our neighbors' view. And we did submit from both of our neighbors a signed sheet that said that we went to each neighbor, John Cox and Anderson's, and that we did get their approval, and we showed them the fence, but they both said no problem at all. And we both have our lot has trees on each side. So basically, neither one of them is going to see the fence. The only one that's going to see the fence is us. So we do have approval from each side of our neighbors. And then also what I would like to, written approval. And I did submit that. And then also, your ordinance now currently says that the fence, if I'm right, can be no further forward than the front building line of the house. Right, Larry?
A 6-foot high fence can be there. A 3-foot high fence can be anywhere on the lot except in the shore impact zone.
Okay, so what if you don't approve this to go along either side of our lot? Basically, what we're forced to do then is to go by your setback rules, but run this fence right through the front of our yard so that all the boating traffic that goes by now sees a fence running right through our front yard versus right along a tree line that you won't even see. The trees go all the way, and coincidentally on each side of our lot, the trees hang over the lake. So when this fence is constructed, you won't even see that fence, mostly because it's black and because we're very heavily treed on each side. So if we can't go all the way to the water, then we are forced to run one right across the front of our lawn. And that's gonna be a far bigger eyesore than to let it go to the water.
But ignoring the height of the fence, what I hear you asking for is to go all the way to the lake. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just so you know, I mean, we spent 2.5 years rewriting the shoreland ordinance, trying to keep stuff out of the shore impact zone of 37.5 feet. So
Okay.
just so you're aware that that's going to be certainly.
I don't know about the neighbor's fence. It may be a grandfathered in non-conforming use, or it may have been put up illegally. I don't know that. The other item here is not whether this fence would be visible to the neighbors or to people on the lake, but whether or not the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all of the requirements to be given a variance. Is it a reasonable request, and does it actually, do they have a unique situation that would entitle them to have this that other people don't have?
Now, Larry, I was just explaining to Mr. and Mrs. McCullum that, you know, the big issue, whether it's the height of the fence or not, would be that we spent 2.5 years trying to rewrite a shoreland ordinance to keep things out of that shore impact zone. So,
Correct.
yeah, but thank you for your input there. And certainly, no matter what happens tonight, you may want to check on the status of that fence that Mr. McCullum referred to. If you would follow up on that, please.
Just one comment, just so you're aware, the other fence does go all the way to the water's edge. It is 8 feet tall, and it has been constructed over the last couple of years, and actually has been just finished up here within probably the last 10 months.
Okay, well then we sure want to check on that, Larry, because it's very possible that the fence was constructed not in compliance with city code. So Larry, you will follow up on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, before I close it to planning commission members, are there any other questions that anybody has of the applicant here? Don or Dan online, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, Bruce.
Carrie, is there anyone online for this issue? Okay, thank you. All right, is there any, thank you folks for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the issue of the fence at 704 Sherwood Drive? Anyone else in the audience? Okay, if not, I will close that public hearing and open it up to, again, comments or questions from planning commission members. Anybody have any comments here?
Well, I have a comment because I live across the street. And I don't have any plants left either. But I can't afford to put a fence around my property. But my question is more for the city, because we've come to the city, I think, before about the growing herd of deer, and I have 7 or 8 of them in my yard because their pathway is out of your yard over and through my yard. And so, is there a way to have better deer population control?
Yeah, I mean, I will speak to that because I brought this up, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. There's deer all, I don't know about Cox's property, but there's deer all over in that swamp area between Longbridge Road and Sherwood Drive. I've actually suggested to the city that they allow some bow hunters in there to thin out the herd. Now, that never went anywhere, but we could certainly, I think, you know, I don't think they would let any rifle hunters in there, but certainly bow hunters would be a possibility. But yeah, I used to live, you know, where I lived, it was all like Burgeon's Tree Farm across from us. We had hundreds of deer, and they knew that was a safe place in the fall. It's like, hey, bed in there. So anyway, that's a good question, and we could follow up on that.
I mean, this is not the only neighbor that doesn't like this or complains about it or has plants that are getting eaten up. And
Sure.
I mean, I love wildlife. I love all the trees. I think it's, you know, that's why I live there. It's a beautiful area. But I'm trying to figure out what kind of a gun I can get that's
Yeah.
legal. Probably a paint gun, maybe, I don't know. Kind of mark them and then I'll know if they're coming back. But I feel your pain.
All
I
right.
am not a big fan of not following the shoreline ordinance. Put a lot of work into that, and I'm a big supporter of the lake and the quality of the lake, and I feel that we need to follow a lot of those rules.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Dan or Don, I know you're online. I don't want to miss you. Comments there?
Well, I think, deer are a problem everywhere in Detroit Lakes. We live way on the north side, and I would say the north side deer are even meaner. Last winter I could have jumped out. Yeah. Last winter I could have jumped out the window onto the back of one. They're getting kind of bold. But yeah, we've had 9 deer move through our yard too. So I bring that up only because the circumstance isn't unique. I think it's basically part of living in Detroit Lakes. You get the deer, geese in the yard, ducks, rabbits, wildlife. If we're built around a swamp, we're going to have wildlife in our yards. So I just think it's part of living in this town.
All right, thanks, Dan. Don?
Yeah, I have to agree. There's, everybody pretty much has trouble with the deer and other animals that, everybody would be building a fence if we could.
Are the deer out in Long Lake any nicer than the north side?
No, they're smaller, but they run faster.
Run faster.
They're harder to hit.
And again, anybody else here, Eric or Chris, any comments?
Well, I've had property out there at Sherwood Drive too. It's a nuisance. So.
Yeah, there's deer problems all over the city.
All right, so what I'd be looking for here is a motion either to approve the denial, a motion to deny the denial. Am I saying that right? So if anyone wants to make a motion one way or the other.
Bruce, Dan Winter here. I'll make a motion to deny the variance. Okay, it looks like that's the correct way to go on this. Motion to deny the variance for the reasons I already stated.
Is there a second?
I'll have to second that then.
Seconded by Don, okay. Again, we have a motion on the table to deny the variance request. Any further comments from planning commission members?
I'm gonna recuse myself from voting.
Okay, Jen, please note, abstain by Nancy. Okay, we're going to go through the list here. Dan Wenner.
Aye.
Don.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Bruce. Nancy abstained. Bruce. Aye. So the motion to deny is approved. You folks are certainly welcome to come, as I suggested, to the Community Development Committee meeting October 12th at 5 o'clock. All right, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is public hearing to give consideration to rezoning of a tract of land from I-1 light industrial to B2 general business district and a conditional use permit to allow facility licensed by the state of Minnesota and serving up to 15 residential clients and 15 to 20 outpatient clients with substance abuse disorder treatment at 640 Randolph Road. Long item here, but Larry, if you would please give us the background on this.
Right. This applicant is requesting the rezoning at 640 Randolph Road from I-1 light industrial to B2 general business district. And then they are asking for a conditional use permit to provide residential inpatient services for up to 15 women and outpatient services for 15 to 20 women. This is for a licensed substance use disorder treatment facility. Back in 2019, we approved a similar request for the refuge at 921 8th Street Southeast. And that facility is still on our books. It still has a conditional use permit that's active. And they are planning to apply to the state for approval. And that facility is in close proximity to this one. The staff recommends approval of the rezoning request and the variance, subject to the 3 conditions that are listed, and those are conditions that are very typical for this type of project. First, that the facility house no more than 15 women. 2, that the owner obtain the appropriate state license to operate a substance use disorder treatment facility. And 3, that all of the design, operating, and licensing requirements of appropriate federal, state, and local agencies are met.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And before we ask people to speak to the issue, could you just, at least from my perspective, remind us again the difference between having this facility as, or this land zone I-1 versus B2?
The reason for changing it from an industrial zone to a commercial zone is that this type of use is not a permitted use in the industrial zone, but it is a use that is allowed by conditional use in the B2 district.
All right, thank you. All right, again, it's a public hearing, so if anyone would like to speak to the issue of both the rezoning and the conditional use at 640 Randolph Road, please come to the podium and identify yourself and give us your address if you would, please.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peggy Isaacson, and I am the executive assistant for this project. And we live in Audubon, Minnesota, nearby, well, on Little Cormorant Lake. And if just a very quick note, if you guys want to send some of your deer out our way, I'd really like that. I mean, we could use a lot of the deer out there by the corn. Anyway, sorry about that. And this is my husband, Jamie, and he is the president of the board of this, of the endeavor.
And Shelley Petrick should be online as well. She's the one with all the details. Okay, we got her?
Okay, great. Shelley and Mel Manning. Yeah, please go ahead, Peggy.
The conditional use permit, I'm not sure actually, forgive me, I'm really not sure where to start, but this facility
read the ones
has put together very in-depth facility management, and I'm losing what to say here.
Yeah, I guess basically there's in this area, there's a great need for people with substance abuse to get a place of treatment. The Refuge Compassion House do a wonderful job, but the need is still greater. The treatment facilities of this nature do not really exist in a 100-mile radius. This is the Refuge Compassion Center is the only one, and
that's for men.
Well, the refuge is now done.
Oh yeah, they're doing the women too.
So,
they've got a 15.
Yeah, so there's a 15 there, but really in a 100-mile radius, treatment facility is for 30 people, 15 women, 15 men, is a little lean.
Correct. And we, with the Recovery CR is what we're calling it, has a very large marketing plan. It has very experienced people that will be coming into the program. And if I may read one quick thing under the SWOT analysis that we have on the business plan. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the opportunities for this are the Detroit Lakes and surrounding communities currently have a tremendous unmet need for an all-inclusive substance use disorder treatment facility in the surrounding 100+ mile radius. Recovery Community Resources is poised to meet this enormous opportunity of serving our communities by meeting the existing need as well as in current and upcoming COVID-19 crisis environment, where abuse and addiction are anticipated to reach record levels throughout our region and in many individuals and families' lives. So Recovery CR is, again, it's all inclusive. So it's including not just the 15-bed, which will have high, medium, and low intensity. And what that means is for chronic SUD, substance use disorder clients, they have 180 stay, which is the high. The medium is the 90-day, and the low intensity is the 30-day stay. In addition to that, what we offer is outpatient programs. We have 2 outpatient groups that will meet every week, and we also have assessments and several other items that have not to this point been offered to our community. And I do want to make sure that I mention the fact that women in particular, I've spoken with the supervisor of Mary's House, and women that have come from an abusive situation many times really have a hard time coming to a program that has both men and women in even a group. And I mean, you know, realistically, that is understandable. And so our program at this point is geared just for women. And as all-inclusive as we have, there's only 5 facilities on all of the state of Minnesota. And we have the 100-mile radius with that kind of intensity, because there is no one that offers that kind of intensity, that many programs to women that are suffering from addiction issues in that 100-mile radius. Most of them, if there is one, would be a combination of both men and women. And I do think that Ms. Petrick had something else that she had wanted to say as well.
Please go ahead, Shelley.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to add as well that this facility will be what we call a co-occurring program, which means that we will have the ability to treat women also diagnosed with mental health disorders. So that is common that people who suffer from substance use also have mental health issues. So that will be unique to this program as well. And I want to just say that, you know, we speak about a 100-mile radius, but we're really looking at providing services to really the entire Northwest region of Minnesota and largely the western part of Minnesota. So it really does speak to the needs that we have in this part of the part of our state.
Okay,
I would also like to add that the particular facility that we're looking at, which is the previously used minimum security building for our legal court. Yeah,
Minimum
you know
security
what?
prison.
Yeah.
Jail.
Jail, that's it. Please forgive me, today's been something else. The facility itself is actually just exactly what we need to go ahead and move in and make minimal changes to the building itself, because it really is set up with the security, and the building is concrete. The whole thing is just really really does lend itself to this kind of project. And it is a good use, I think, of this particular building. And I personally would love to see it turned into this, you know, just personally myself, even if I weren't, if my husband wasn't on the board. And so also I know that speaking to others within the community that have heard about the fact that we would like to do this project have been very open to it and very much, they have been very, thank you. I don't know where my brain is today. Forgive me, supportive. They've been very supportive and excited to have this kind of facility available. And we thank you.
Okay, thank you, folks. Does anyone on the Planning Commission, before I let them leave the podium, anyone in the Planning Commission have any questions for these folks?
Bruce, I had a couple of questions for Shelley. One, was she aware that the refuge was moving forward with their plans for the same type of facility? And two, is she aware of the spacing requirements that the Department of Health and Human Services has for those type of facilities?
I have not, I was unaware of the plans that the refuge has after leaving there. And spacing, I am not sure what you're referring to there.
Well, the Department of Health and Human Services doesn't allow similar facilities to be located too close together. They have a requirement of how far they have to be separated.
Okay. And do you know how far that is, or?
1,320 feet.
Oh.
So these two projects would be closer than that.
Closer than 1,300 feet?
Yes, they're only about 400 feet apart.
That can't be right.
Larry, do you happen to have a map of
I
this?
do have a map. Yes, hold on.
Okay. So just so we're clear on the Planning Commission, while the map is pulling up, Larry, what you're saying is the state itself has some restrictions on whether facilities similar to each other, how close they can be located?
Yes.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Larry, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
The 400 feet that you're speaking of is from the property line to property line, is that correct? It's not
That is correct.
From facility
Property
building
line.
to facility building.
That is correct.
Okay, so you have a map up here. Can you just maybe, is there a way to do a pointer on there at all?
Does that show up on yours?
Yep, it does. You bet.
Okay. The pointer is at 640 Randolph Road. And then if I move it up here, that is the refuge. So this blue line shows the distance between those two as being 380 feet.
And Larry, what could you, since this is, it sounds like it's news to everybody tonight, do you know how far along the refuge is in terms of, they're already licensed and approved to do this type of facility?
They have their conditional use permit. I don't know where they're at with their application to the state.
Hey, Larry.
I think Mel Manning could answer that.
Yeah, Larry, I'm sorry. We started licensing yesterday. And the building is, we had, Nathan came from the city inspector, came over yesterday and looked at the building. Just a couple of little things we have to fix. So we're ready to roll on this.
And Mr. Manning, are you representing the refuge in this discussion?
Yes, my name is Mel Manning, and I'm the president and director of the board here. And we have very much concerns about this. We was given a variance, and we've been working on our building here and put hundreds of thousands of dollars in preparing for this women's treatment facility. And there's not going to be enough clientele to support two organizations like this. And in a small area like this, regardless of what is said. And Shelley did have a part. Matter of fact, I set up a meeting with her to get the variance for this building. And she was here, worked for us for a couple of years. She was dismissed from this organization for a host of reasons. And it's just, you know, it's something that's stunning that she would even make an attempt to do something like this. And it's just, we're up here operating, we're all prepared to go. And she does know exactly what we're going to do, because she was the one that helped get us this far until she was dismissed from here. And she dismissed, we have a very, like I said, a lot of reasons, including non-ethical reasons, that we're still going to be dealing with yet in the future here. So I'm just very concerned about this situation.
Okay, so, and I know that you folks can continue to talk. I'm not trying to shut off conversation, but I know there's another gentleman here that wants to speak to this issue. And before we get too many other people reiterating what they've said, I would like to open that up to this gentleman if you wanted to speak to this issue, correct? If you folks could let him come to the podium, and please again identify yourself.
My name is Ed Pockel. I'm director of Lakes Counseling Center and outpatient.
I'm sorry, was it Ed?
Ed.
Okay.
Pockel. And I don't know if I have the right to speak here because I don't live in Detroit Lakes. I live out in rural Audubon.
You certainly have the right to speak.
Okay. My concern is, like it's been mentioned, that this is a very small community, well less than 10,000 last count. And there are already 2 quality outpatient treatment, substance abuse treatment programs in this town. And numbers have already dropped somewhat already, because Rewind, it was over in Perham, has dropped the numbers of available clients in this area. We are the only ones that are providing adolescent substance use disorder treatment, and there are barely usually enough clients to even keep that program going. And many times we're losing money on it, but we're doing it as a community service because there's no other program around. And part of my concern is that I do agree that most women do better in a program of all women. And many times when the population of clients has allowed, we break off from the co-ed groups and start all female groups with a female counselor. And certainly having another outpatient program in town would really stymie that too. And we're not able to do it all the time because it depends on so many factors. We don't control the number of clients that come to us, what gender they are, or even where they come from. So we like to be able to continue that when we can, but that would make it nearly impossible to do that. So like I said, there are already 2 reputable outpatient programs. We have been here for 31 years. I'm not the first owner of it. I'm actually the 3rd, but I've owned it since 2005. And most anyone you talk to will speak of our reputation in programming and never looking to filling chairs as a clinical reason for any action we take. It's always based on the client's best possible outcomes, up into possible enabling. We won't go there either. Our philosophy is enabling is killing, and we don't want to be a part of that.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Ed, as long as he's at the podium? Dan or Don, any questions for Ed here, as long as he's at the podium?
No, none for me.
Okay, so, and you're certainly welcome to speak, and I'm not cutting off conversation, but whether it's you or Jamie or Peggy or Mel or Shelley, I guess the one thing I would ask you guys to do is let's keep it on point as to the facility and your belief that you either need the facility or don't need the facility. And if there's any personal conflicts involved, I'd ask that you not get into that. That's not what we're here for tonight. We're trying to approve or not approve the conditional use and the rezoning here. So again, Ed, if you want to speak later, if something comes up, you're welcome to come back to the podium. Peggy or Jamie, I know you guys are up first. Is there anything else that you want to add after you've heard this discussion?
Well, I guess I would say that, you know, I see the need. We're talking about a large quadrant of the state. The upper north west quarter of the state is where we plan on marketing this into. So the need, I think, is there. We're not trying to take away business from anybody, you know, but I think that there's more issues out there than what's currently in here can take care of.
It's not going to be just the 10,000 people in the local area that will be serviced. We're looking at the entire northwest quarter, excuse me, where the marketing is going to be done and where the outlying areas that have the most need. I totally respect Ted and Lakes. They have done an awesome job on the outpatient. And the Compassion House has done an awesome job with the men's facility. We were just hoping to go ahead and get a women's facility that is all-inclusive and for a much bigger, broader area with more programs available to women. And especially now when we do anticipate, I know that we are kind of in the never zone as far as COVID is concerned. You know, the East Coast had it and the West Coast had it, and it takes a long time before it comes to the Midwest. But we are going to have fallout from just the COVID issues that we've already had to address. We are trying to address a lot of abuse issues of both women and children, in particular with lockdowns, with the stress of having to try to school from home, with the stress of having to just, your entire life is up in the air. There's just a lot of reasons why women in particular throughout the entire Northwest quarter need a facility that is going to be all-encompassing for their mental health needs, for family needs. There's going to be family issues that'll be addressed. Children will be allowed to be there and to visit and to play and to do that kind of thing. We are totally focused right now on making women's recovery number one in what we want to do with this facility. And that, as I said, is all encompassing. It takes the mental health as well as the family health and all of the assessments, et cetera, et cetera. There's just a lot of things that we'd like to do. And we do appreciate the outpatient, especially around here. And we do anticipate that need to grow beyond, I think, even what Ted might be able to handle. I don't know, maybe, and that would be awesome if it doesn't grow. And him and the other group.
Great.
Yeah, if they could handle all of the outpatient, then all we would have to worry about would be the intense inpatient program and getting these women back to their families. And their families, you know, they don't want to have to drive 200 miles to get to a place where it's a place where they can recover, because a lot of their families aren't able to drive the 200 miles to get here. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
Great, thank you, thank you. Okay, Shelley or Mel, do you have anything you want to add before I close the public hearing, or any comments you want to make?
Well, first of all, I apologize if I got too deep, but I'm just quite passionate about this. I just want to say that we already have our staff hired. I don't want this to have to be a big struggle for either facility to make it. And I think wisdom in a small community like this, it was said when we started the men's facility that there's never going to be no problem, it's going to be overflowing. Well, that's not been the case. I mean, we've sometimes had to struggle just to really make ends meet. And I know we're going to have that same struggle here. And if there's another facility that opens up within a stone throw of this place, I just know it's going to make it so difficult for us to be able to continue on with the treatment facility here. And we are offering, you know, we have a good record. And it's been great. And I know Larry's familiar with it. And I just want to thank you guys for taking strong consideration on deny this variance so that we can be successful here.
Okay, thank you. Shelley, again, any last comments before I close the public hearing?
No, I appreciate your consideration of this, and I'm optimistic that both programs can be successful.
Okay, thank you. And any last comments over here?
I would like to comment on the some of the history here that speaks to cooperation between inpatient and outpatient programs. When Shelley was still with Compassion House, in fact, we engaged in some conversations about them being able to provide inpatient residential programming, and we could provide the outpatient program. And regardless of what you folks decide here, certainly I wouldn't be in huge favor of another outpatient program in town, and especially when numbers are down for all of us because of COVID. And the fact that we've tried telehealth, it works real fine for voluntary clients, but we've had a 100% failure rate for folks that are in treatment under pressure, which is about 90% of them. And but certainly if the program does get going, whether it be Mel's program or whether it be Shelley's program, that if that would be a condition of us being able to provide that service for their women, to be able to have an all women's group, we would most certainly be able to accommodate that. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing so we can move this along. Again, appreciate all the comments from folks. And certainly if we close the public hearing and a member of the Planning Commission has a particular question for somebody, we would encourage you to ask that. So I will close the public hearing now and open it up to comments from our Planning Commission members. But one thing I would ask Larry to comment on here. So Larry, just looking at the conditional use permit request, the following conditions, one of them says that the conditional use would be approved if the owner obtained the appropriate state licenses to operate a substance use disorder treatment facility. So following that through, if for some reason the state would not license the facility, then this conditional use disappears. Is that correct?
If it's not used within a year, it would go away. So yes, they need to be licensed by the state in order to run that type of facility. The state did indicate to me, though, that they have a requirement that these facilities be at least 1,320 feet apart. And since we can't do that with both of these facilities, it seems like we should consider possibly not approving one.
Right, but my point to you would be, is that our decision, or if we approve the conditional use with the condition that the state license it and the state doesn't license it, my question was, does that in fact then make the conditional use disappear?
It would, because they would not have their state license.
Okay, so one of the conditions is they have to have a state license. My other question though, since we've got the rezoning and the conditional use, you've addressed the issue of the conditional use with your conditions. If we rezone this from I-1 to B2 as part of this motion with the conditional use, does that make the rezoning disappear if it doesn't get licensed?
No, we would have to go back in and actually change the zoning back.
Okay, so are we...
If we denied the zoning change, then we would also have to deny the conditional use permit, because the conditional use permit would not be permitted in the industrial zone.
So my question is, and again, I'm asking this before other Planning Commission members have their questions to you, but are we better off making this two motions? In other words, we want to take a motion first on the rezoning and then a motion on the conditional use.
Yes, I would recommend very strongly that you do those separately. And that, of course, you do the rezoning first.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions that you might have of either Larry or any of the participants tonight, either members that are here or members online?
Larry, this is Don. Wouldn't it make sense to see if they could get the permit from the health department before we even start anything?
The health department won't issue a permit unless they are permitted use in that district.
Oh. Okay. But then again, you're saying that they won't.
Yeah, just a minute, Don. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
I'm guessing the purchase agreement is a contingency that states that they need to get this building licensed so they can operate their business in there. So they're trying to purchase this building. Does that make sense?
Don, did you understand Eric's comment there?
No, I didn't hear it.
Okay, go ahead, Eric. Maybe speak into the microphone.
Don, I think this building that we're talking about is presently under contract. There's an offer's been accepted on it. So I'm guessing they have a contingency on their offer that states that they need to get this building licensed through the state to operate their business. So that's why we have to do this now, and we can't, because they're probably not going to buy this building if they can't get the license.
Okay. Okay. So, and the county, is the county own the building?
The county is the owner. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, then that's fine.
But I wanted to make a comment too. I mean, in this area of Detroit Lakes, when we change the zoning of that auto value to B2, it seems like it's kind of a transitioning area. You have a lot of light industrial people coming to town. Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in my mind, it makes sense to change it to B2 because it gives more opportunities for other businesses to use that space.
Sure.
Well, I think you could look at it in one of two ways. One is, yes, that area is a transition area and perhaps commercial uses are acceptable there, or certain types of commercial uses. The other way that you could look at it, though, is that it's a small piece that we're zoning and it's spot zoning. So those are the two views that you could take on this issue.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
What is it zoned now, Larry?
It is zoned I-1 light industrial.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, certainly an area where you could, you know, like you said, Eric, should we be rezoning that whole area B2 or, you know, whatever's in there? I guess it would have to be, if people wanted to look at more of a fuller definition of that. But I'm with you. I understanding that a lot of the businesses that are along there are probably B2 or will be at some point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Dan Winter here. It sits in between Lake Shirts, which, you know, would be a industrial facility, and, you know, the office complex that, you know, I'm located in. So it could go, it frankly could go either way, office, general business, or light industrial at this point. It's connected to both types of or right next to both types of facilities. So I guess my point is I wouldn't worry too much about the spot zoning at this point. It's going to be connected one way or the other to a light facility or lake area.
Yeah, Dan, I don't know about anybody else, but I think we missed most of your comment. I don't know if it's your microphone or.
I don't know. I thought everybody froze on me because they were so wrapped with what I was saying. I'll keep it short this time. Okay. So I think you're hearing me. So basically, on one side, it's got what would amount to B2 type businesses, and on the other, it's already got industrial type. So it really could go either way without worrying about spot zoning.
Okay, thank you. All right, so again, any further questions or comments of any of the participants? So I think the way we would want to handle this is first get a motion by a planning commission member either to rezone from I-1 to B2, either to do that, or if there's no motion to do that, then it would not be rezoned. So I would either ask for a motion for rezoning, or if there's no motion to do that, then that answers the first part of the question.
Well, I just want to back up to Larry saying that the Minnesota Department of Health would not approve this anyway. I mean, it seems to me to hold off and find out if that measurement is in fact what it has to be, then it's not going to apply. If these buildings are too close to each other, they're not going to get your license anyway.
Right, but I guess I would go along with Eric's comment, which is irregardless of what facility is going to be there.
Okay.
Do you want to rezone this from I-1 to B2? I think, so correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, your argument was we should rezone it either way.
Just to make up the building what it is, the looks, to me, it's not a light industrial building. I mean, I don't think we're going to get someone in there that's going to manufacture something. You know.
Yeah, and that would be my argument too, is I'm in favor of the rezoning, whether this facility is going to get approved or not. Do you want to rezone this? That's why we're voting on this separate. So I don't know if Eric, if you'd want to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we change from light industrial to B2.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Don. Okay, so we're strictly talking now just about the rezoning from that piece of property from I-1 to B2. Any comments on that? If not, I guess my one comment I would say is this, is that I understand Larry saying this is probably spot zoning, and while I'm normally opposed to spot zoning, I guess if we do vote in favor of this motion, Larry, I'd ask that we maybe do look at the rest of that property out there as to what should be zoned along that stretch. But we can do that at a future meeting. All right, if I don't hear any further comments, I'm going to ask for the vote, which is to rezone this property from I-1 industrial to B2 business. Dan Wenner.
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Nancy?
Aye.
And Bruce, aye. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor and 1 abstaining. Jen, if you'd please note that for Mr. Nord, okay? All right, now let's go to the discussion of they want to, it's now been rezoned to B2, or will be if the, has to be first be approved by the city council. I should back up here. But with the motion now that we've approved the rezoning, now would be the discussion on the conditional use for this facility. And I guess my only comment, Nancy, is I understand your comment about their you know, what Larry's saying about the license, but I guess I'm coming back to say, you know, if they go and the state doesn't approve them, then that's between this facility and the state. The city can grant the conditional use with the conditions that Larry's mentioned here. That would be my argument. But certainly if the Planning Commission doesn't feel that they want to wait on that. Larry, what, just as an example, if some Planning Commission members are not comfortable voting on this till they know where the state is, what is the timeline again on this?
Well, I don't think the state would accept an application for a facility that isn't zoned to have it. So essentially, if we say no, they would not be able to go to the state and make an application. If we approve it, just like you said, Bruce, then it would be the state that would have to decide if they can approve this or not, and that's their rules and regulations. So we wouldn't have to necessarily deny it just because the state has a regulation that way. That would be their issue to address.
No, but I'm, you know, and I thank you, Larry, but what I guess my particular question was, I've heard a couple of Planning Commission members say they're uncertain about voting on the conditional use. Now we voted on the rezoning,
right,
but on the conditional use, if we wanted to wait on that conditional use till we got more information, is there a time frame? Are we within 60 days or we got to deal with that?
Oh, yeah, we do have to make a decision within 60 days, which in this case means we have to make a decision by November 1st.
Okay, so either we could vote tonight on the conditional use permit, or if people wanted more information, we could defer this for another month.
You could, but then the council has to make their decision prior to November 1st, or we have to request a 60-day extension to make the decision. I don't think there's any additional information that's likely to come forward at this point.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify for everybody where we're at.
Sure.
Again, comments, questions? Well, I closed the public hearing, Peggy, so is it something really quick that you can comment on?
Yeah, if the decision is put off for 60 days, it's going to affect the purchase agreement that we have in place with the county.
Okay, that's good information, thank you. Yep. All right, so what I'd be looking for at this point is, again, a motion to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions that our staff has listed here, the 3 conditions. Or if we don't get a motion, then it would fail. Someone willing to make a motion?
I guess it was a comment, I guess. I mean, I'll make the motion.
Make the motion to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions listed. Is there a second to that motion? Motion by Eric, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Don, thank you. All right, now we can discuss the motion, which is, again, to allow the conditional use of this facility subject to the 3 conditions: that A, the facility house no more than 15 women; 2, that the owner obtain the appropriate state licenses to operate a substance use disorder treatment facility; and 3, that all of the design, operating, and licensing requirements of appropriate federal, state, and local agencies are met. Okay. With those conditions, are there any questions?
I just have a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm a big supporter of this kind of support. I think that it's a very necessary thing as far as substance abuse and supporting that. And so I'm hearing a couple of different things, and I'm not sure which study is saying that, you know, you want to do your research to know that you've got enough clients to make your business go, you know, and I would be a big supporter of having the business, both businesses go very well, because I think it's a very needed thing. You know, I don't think we're in a position of responsibility as far as whether the business is going to succeed or not. So, I mean, I just would say, I hope that the research has been done, that if it goes ahead, that your business is a success. So I'm hearing 2 different sides, that there's not enough clients and we're going to have a whole bunch of clients. So I just want to make that comment.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Again, just so I don't miss anybody, Don or Dan, before we vote, any final comments?
I'll throw in one more comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you approve this, it just gives these people an opportunity to go through these steps, whether they get a license or not. It's not our, I mean, it says it's not on our shoes or anything. So let's give them the chance.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Dan. Otherwise, hearing no further comments, I'm going to call for the vote. Okay, all in favor of the motion of approving the conditional use permit for a substance use disorder facility at 640 Randolph Road. Dan Wenner?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Again, I'll abstain.
Abstain, okay, thank you. Nancy?
Aye.
And Bruce is aye. Okay, so the conditional use permit is approved, subject to the conditions on here. This will be addressed again at the Mel, Shelley, and Peggy, and Jamie, and Ted, or Ed? I missed it. Yeah, Ted. This will be addressed at the Community Development Committee October 12th at 5 o'clock, of which Mr. Wenner is the chair. So you're welcome to show up again at this room at that date, or you can Zoom in. Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate your our participation. All right, we're on to the next item. Carrie, is there anyone on for item B, which is Mr. Archer's request? Is he on? Okay. So we will go back to item A, public hearing on the zoning ordinance of Detroit Lakes relative to eliminating drive-in uses. Larry?
Yes, this is a request to change the zoning ordinance relative to drive-in uses. Currently, the B1 district requires a conditional use permit for any drive-in use for banks and restaurants. The B2 district allows a drive-in restaurant as a planned use, as a permitted use. However, it requires drive-in banks and financial institutions to get a conditional use permit. And then thirdly, in the B3 district, it allows drive-in restaurants, but it lists drive-in convenience food as a conditional use. So I'm not sure what the distinction is there. It seems a little bit odd, but in order to clean up the confusion, it's recommended that the zoning ordinance be amended to allow drive-in uses as a permitted use in all of the commercial districts.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing and I'm looking around. I don't see anyone in the room. I assume there's nobody online, Carrie. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing, Jen. All right. Questions, comments?
I'm gonna have to have it clarified.
Question, clarification.
Hold on, Dan, a minute, Dan.
Yeah.
I think Nancy wanted to speak up here first.
I need to have a clarification as to conditional use permit and permitted use. What's the difference between these?
Larry, did you hear that question?
I did not hear the question.
So I'm confused as to what we're deciding. There's the conditional use permit, or
What we're deciding is that instead of requiring a conditional use permit for any of these drive-in uses, we're making them all permitted uses in the B1, B2, and B3 district. It seems that drive-throughs are here to stay.
Okay, did that answer your question?
we're allowing them to be permitted.
No, right now what he's saying is rather than somebody come and asking for a conditional use permit, this ordinance change would allow automatically to be drive-ins.
If you're in a B1, B2, or B3, you can automatically have a drive-in.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Dan, I apologize. Did you have a question?
I had the same question, Bruce, so no problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Larry, I happen to agree with that the drive-throughs are here to stay, but if you've been following any of the news in the the city magazine that I get from the League of Minnesota Cities, I see Minneapolis is trying to discourage drive-throughs, but again, that's Minneapolis, just as a comment. So I don't.
That's rich coming from Minneapolis.
Yeah, well,
You have to drive everywhere.
I wasn't going to comment any more than that. That I saw that was in the magazine that they were trying to discourage. I think the idea was that they didn't want cars idling in the drive-through, but I don't know where we would be if we didn't have drive-throughs during the pandemic here. Where would people be?
It's just a congestion thing, isn't it?
That's what they were arguing.
A traffic issue?
Well, they were arguing that cars are idling in the drive-through lane, and so that creates more whatever. So I'm not arguing for
No,
it.
I've seen it too, but I wasn't really sure. Okay.
I just noticed that that's it. They were.
On that note, Nancy, you encouraged me to get smaller cars so I can fit in the
I did.
parking spots.
Yes.
My car turns off when I'm not
See?
moving. When
Yeah,
I'm
a lot of newer vehicles do.
So these people can buy new cars.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, the consideration to amending the zoning ordinance to eliminate drive-through uses, I would be looking for a motion to approve the amending of the ordinance. Is anyone willing to make that motion?
I would move to approve that.
Okay, motion by Nancy, second by
I'll second.
Chris. Okay, thank you. Any further comments? All right, Dan, Are you in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Don?
I am. Aye.
Don, aye, okay.
Yeah.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
And Bruce, aye. Thank you. All right, public hearing to give consideration of variance to allow 14-foot front side yard or front yard setback and a 12-foot side yard setback for construction of a house and garage, and to rezoning from B2 General Business District to R2 1 and 2 family residence or multifamily residence district at 101 Washington Avenue. Larry, please.
Yes, Wayne Archer has requested a variance to allow a 14-foot front yard setback and a 12-foot side yard setback at 101 Washington Avenue. His plan was to move an existing home onto that lot. He may or may not be able to do that, but he still is requesting the variance. And he would, if he can't move the house onto there, he would put some other kind of structure on there that would fit these requirements. In order to do that, he would need to have the property rezoned from B2 General Business District to a residential zone. Staff is recommending that it be rezoned to RM multifamily, which would still allow the single family use. But then we would just be extending the multifamily zone that's across the street from this property.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Again, this is a public hearing, so there's no one here in the audience, but then no one's online. Okay, so again, I will close the public hearing. Jen? All right, thank you for that explanation, Larry. Again, before we get into discussion here, Larry, should we first vote on the rezoning before we vote on the variance?
Yes, that would be desirable.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions by Planning Commission members either on the rezoning or the variance request? Either one we can talk about right now.
I guess I have a concern with going to residential in that area. It just seems to me in the future, Detroit Lakes and that block 1 north of Highway 34 there potentially become commercial property. So I guess that's my concern.
All right. Anyone willing to make a motion here for the rezoning first?
Well, there are houses next door, from what I can see. There are other homes. You can see down towards 34 or whatever.
Yeah, there's one south of there, I believe.
One south of there,
But RM, I think, would be a nice transition zoning for that area too.
Okay.
Wouldn't you think, Larry? Obviously, that's
Yes, it would be a very good transition. Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Eric to rezone from current B2 to RM multifamily. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Chris, thank you. All right, discussion on the rezoning piece itself. If not, I will take a vote. Dan, are you in favor of the rezoning?
I am. Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Bruce? Aye. Thank you. The rezoning is a recommendation of council. Okay, the variance request to allow 15 or 14-foot front yard setback and a 12-foot side yard setback. Any questions or comments on that variance request?
Yeah, Larry, can you tell what are the variance? What is the approved distances? What are
The normal front yard setback is 30 feet. The normal side yard setback on a corner lot is 20 feet. He's asking for a 14-foot front yard setback and a 12-foot side yard setback. It's very common in that area to have those, and in fact, his setback in the front yard is in line with the next door neighbor.
All right. Anyone willing to make a motion for the variance?
I guess I have a comment. I guess
Okay.
I have some concerns about him moving an existing home in there. It's not new construction.
Okay.
Is there any, does that raise any red flags, Larry?
The home that he had proposed to move in there was very much in keeping with the neighborhood. It would have fit in very nicely. But I don't believe that he was successful in obtaining that house. So I think that he's looking at something else. Either a modular or a double wide trailer, which would also be in keeping with the neighborhood.
Well, again, what we're voting on, or the variance request, is it keeping in line with what now we've voted to rezone it to RM? Is the variance request keeping in line with that zoning?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone willing to make a motion here?
I'll make a motion to adapt the variance.
A motion by Don, is there a second to that?
I'll second it, Bruce.
Okay, second by Dan, thank you. All right, any comments again on the granting the variance at, I'm sorry, at
101 Washington
101
Avenue.
Washington, thank you, Larry, I was getting there. I lost my place, thank you. 101 Washington. If not, I will call the question. Dan, are you in favor?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric? Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
And Bruce, aye. Okay, thank you. All right, that, all of our public hearings. Other business, Larry, you had on here, final. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay. God, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for clarifying that. I apologize. All right. Item under other business, Larry, final plat for Lakeview storage, common interest. Anything you want to add on that?
This is just the final plat of Lakeview Village Common Interest Community. The plat is meeting all of the subdivision regulations of the city, and I would recommend meeting all of the.
Okay, we need a vote on this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So anybody have any comments or questions on the final plat for Lakeview Storage Common Interest Community number 92? Larry, this is the one that's next to Strive Chiropractic?
No.
No, this is the one that's out by Lakeview Town Hall.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. All right. Is there a motion to approve the final plat?
I would move to approve that.
Motion by Nancy, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Eric, thank you. All right, without further questions or comments, I'm going to call a vote. Dan Wenner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Bruce, aye, thank you. And then Larry, you have on here information regarding annexation for use storage.
Yes, Use Storage is a business out on Highway 10 West, right at the end of Long Lake. And they are requesting some annexation of a strip of property on the very west end of their lot. It's apparently a piece that wasn't included in the orderly annexation order. And so they are requesting that it be annexed right now. So it's this blue area on the survey. It's a long strip of land that just was excluded from the orderly annexation. And this is just for information, so you're aware of the annexation that will be dealt with by the city council after they hold a public hearing.
Larry, this isn't the existing property that's along Highway 10, correct? That already has businesses in there?
This is a piece of that property, but it's just this sliver along the westerly edge.
Along the westerly edge.
of
It
that
looks like it goes
property.
down, Westlake Drive.
At the north end, it's Highway 10, and it runs parallel to the spur track.
Okay. Okay.
Odd piece.
So the folks that built along Highway 10 are not in the city and we're not annexing them?
They are in the city, and this piece would be annexed as well. This is it's just a small piece of property that was left out of the annexation earlier.
Okay, but you need to clarify for me because I believe they didn't get sewer and water along that stretch when they put that in.
I don't recall that. I would have to check. I don't believe they did, but they are annexed to the city.
So would they get sewer and water in the next phase? Is that
That's something we would need to talk with John Pratt about, but yes, they would get sewer and water in the next phase.
Okay. So we're not voting on anything tonight. You're just giving us information.
Oh, this is just information.
All right. Anybody else have any questions on that? Okay. I'm sure I'm going to have more questions, that Larry, but as long as we're not voting, then I'll hold my questions. Larry, anything else that's not on the agenda you want to bring to our attention?
Yeah, there was, at the last meeting, Nancy asked about a property on Shorewood Drive that built an accessory building right in the front yard. We did investigate that, and it turns out that this person built a 16 by 16 foot storage shed. He claimed he was replacing an existing shed that he had on the site. Turns out that that existing shed was probably 8 by 10 feet, and he did not get a building permit. So he will be submitting an application for a variance to allow this structure, and we'll deal with that at the public hearing, but and you'll get my opinion at that time. But needless to say, I'm not pleased with it.
My God, that's what I thought.
Another after the fact variance request, huh?
Yeah.
Anything else, Larry, that you have for the Plan Commission?
Nothing else.
Okay, I think if I can just remind you what, I know you wrote it down, but again, before maybe the CDC meeting, you were going to check on the status of that fence along McCullum's property to see what the status of that is. And I know this is not your purview, but maybe we could check and see if we can get a comment from Sean King or somebody in Public Works as far as the possibility of allowing some deer thinning in that area between Long Bridge Drive and Sherwood Drive. If you could just follow up on that, if you would, please.
I will do that.
All right, thank you. Dan Wenner, anything for the Plan Commission? Dan?
Nothing else, Bruce.
Don?
No, I'm good.
No, nothing else.
Eric? Okay, Chris? Nancy? All right, nothing from me. Thank you all for hanging in here a little later tonight, and the Planning Commission is adjourned.